Is online learning the new future? Would you have believed me if I told you that all of us would be doing online learning? Well, for the past year, our world has been hit by a pandemic. It's not on. Oh. On a scale we wouldn't have believed was possible before. Businesses were forced to close down, along with shops, bars, and restaurants, to prevent people from contracting the lethal virus. Additionally, 1.2 billion children were forced to stay home and use programs like Zoom and Google Meet for their education. Nonetheless, online learning has become a large part of our lives, where teachers and students have had to adapt with each of their own ways. Technology has evolved over the last few decades to such an extent that it has been incorporated into our daily lives, whether it be to meet new people, make tasks considerably easier, or even for education, leading up to the COVID-19 pandemic. Teenage students who grew up with technology were more familiar with how to navigate past the mazes and puzzles of the internet, where some others may have found unbearable. Each student has had different experiences regarding online learning, depending on their teachers and their responsibility to school. Personally, I had a great experience of online school during the 4 months of online learning, where schools were forced to close down because of the ever-growing threat of the pandemic, but other students may have different opinions. Online learning meant that students were allowed to stay home, which meant that they could wake up at a later time. Less time spent traveling meant that we were able to reduce the amount of pollution emitted into the atmosphere. Examples of a less polluted environment can be seen with wildlife returning to areas that had once been the center of human activity. This is a picture of some dolphins who had returned to the Strait of Bosphorus off the coast of Istanbul. A better night's sleep would also improve a student's activity, and staying at home would help better a student's relationship with their families. However, the largest problem online learning created was the fact that not all students had access to the internet. Students from parts of the world that had different socio-economic backgrounds to the more developed countries in the Western world had a harder time during the period of online learning. Online learning, students that faced these problems were offered lower qualities of education. Online learners in Asia have been known to buy a single bottle of water outside a from a fast food restaurant just so that they can have access to the internet for their studies. This is a picture of a boy outside of a McDonald's in Manila, in the Philippines, because he didn't have internet access at home. These limitations bring up an uncertain future for online learning and whether or not it can be a serious permanent replacement. Online learning has changed the experience of education for all of us and shaped the different forms of learning available for us. But in the end, it proved to be less efficient than learning at school. And I truly believe that online learning should not be a substitute for learning at school, but rather a supplement to help better a student's education.